Today, we're going to talk about the 6 potential 401k rollover pitfalls. So you're about to receive a distribution from your 401k, and you're considering a rollover to a traditional IRA. While these transactions are normally straightforward and trouble-free, there are some pitfalls you will want to avoid. 1. Consider the pros and cons of a rollover. The first mistake some people make is failing to consider the pros and cons of a rollover to an IRA plan in the first place. Usually, you can leave your money in the 401k plan if your balance is over $5,000, at least until the planned normal retirement age, which is typically 65. And if you're changing jobs, you may also be able to roll over your distribution over to the new employer's 401k plan. Though IRAs typically offer significantly more investment opportunities and withdrawal flexibility, you see your 401k plan may offer investments that can be replicated in an IRA or can be replicated at an equivalent cost for that matter. You see, an IRA may give you more flexibility with distributions. Your distributions options in a 401k plan depend on the terms of that particular plan, and your options actually may be limited. However, with an IRA, the timing and the amount of distributions are generally at your discretion until you reach age 72 and must start taking required minimum distribution, which is known as the RMD, in the case of a traditional IRA. Another thing to keep in mind, 401k plans offer virtually unlimited protection from your creditors under federal law, assuming that the plan is covered by ERISA. Keep in mind that solo 401ks are not, whereas federal law protects your IRAs from creditors only if you declare bankruptcy. Any IRA creditor protection outside of bankruptcy depends on your particular state law. Another thing, required minimum distribution from traditional IRAs must begin by April 1st following the year you reach age 72. However, if you are past that age and you're still participating in your employer's 401k plan, you can delay your first distribution from that plan until April 1st following the year of your retirement if you own no more than 5% of the company. One more thing, 401k plans may allow employee loans. IRA cannot allow loans. Most 401k plans don't provide an annuity payout option, while some IRAs do. More 401k plans may begin to offer annuities because legislation that was passed in 2019 called the Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement, or the SECURE Act, has actually made it easier for employers to offer annuities as part of the plan. Mistake number 2. Not every distribution can be rolled over into an IRA. For example, RMDs can be rolled over. Neither can hardship withdrawals or certain periodic payments. Do so, and you may have an excess contribution to deal with. The third thing, use direct rollovers and avoid 60-day rollovers. See, what may be tempting to actually give yourself a free 60-day loan, it is generally a mistake to use the 60-day rollover rather than a direct trustee-to-trustee rollovers. If the plan sends the money to you, it is required to withhold 20% of the taxable amount. If you later want to roll the entire amount to the original distribution over an IRA, you'll need to use other sources to make the 20% the plan withheld. In addition, there is no need to taunt the rollover gods by risking inadvertent violation of the 60-day limit. 4. Remember the 10% penalty tax. Taxable distribution you receive from your 401k plan before age 59.5 are normally subject to a 10% early distribution penalty. But there's a special rule that lets you avoid the tax if you receive your distribution as a result of leaving your job during or after the year you turn age 55. But this special rule doesn't carry over to an IRA. If you roll your distribution over to an IRA, you will need to wait until age 59.5 before you can withdraw those dollars from your IRA without the 10% penalty, unless another exception applies. If you think you may need to use the funds before age 59.5, a rollover to an IRA could be a costly mistake. 5. Learn about net unrealized appreciation, commonly termed as NUA. If your 401k plan distribution includes employer stocks that are appreciated over the years, rolling that stock into an IRA could be a serious mistake. Normally, distributions for 401k plans are subject to an ordinary income tax, but special rule applies when you receive a distribution of employer stock from your plan. You pay ordinary income tax only on the cost of the stock at the time it was purchased for you by the plan. Keep in mind, any appreciation in the stock generally receives more favorable long-term capital gain treatment regardless of how long you've owned the stock. Any additional appreciation after the stock is distributed to you is either long-term or short-term capital gains. And that depends on your holding period. These special NUA rules don't apply if you roll the stock over to an IRA. 6. rolling over Roth 401k dollars to a Roth IRA. If you establish your first Roth IRA to accept a rollover of a Roth 401k dollars, you'll have to wait 5 more years until your distribution from the Roth IRA will be qualified and tax-free. That is regardless of whether or not you've met the 5-year requirement in your employer's plan. So if you have a Roth 401k and you think at some point you might want to roll it into a Roth IRA, you might want to open up one now so the clock starts ticking on the 5-year requirements as soon as possible. This assumes you don't already have a Roth IRA, of course. Now, one caution. When evaluating whether to initiate a rollover from an employer plan to an IRA, always be sure to ask about possible surrender charges that may be imposed by your employer plan or new surrender charges that your IRA may impose. So compare investment fees and expenses charged by IRA and investment funds with those charged by your employer plan, if any, and understand any accumulated rights or guarantees that you may be giving up by transferring the funds out of your employer plan. The Secure Act has basically raised the RMD age from 70.5 to 72, effective January 1st, 2020. So anyone who turns 72 before July 1st, 2021, and therefore reaches the age of 70.5 before 2020, will actually need to take an RMD by December 31st, 2021. If you'd like to learn more, whether you should roll over or stay put, we have a webinar covering the factors to consider when making a rollover decision. And the webinar link will be in the description.